Can you all hear me? Wonderful. Thanks so much. Oh, good. We're starting to get more attendees here. That's wonderful. So it's just going to be a small group today, which is nice for the sake of what we're going to be talking about. For those of you who haven't seen my message, I just posted a poll. If you can just take a couple of minutes to say what your affiliation is with the Canadian Armed Forces, that would be wonderful. We're just trying to gauge kind of who our audience is for the majority of these webinars. So thanks again so much for joining. I see we have attendees from Trenton, Ottawa, Sudbury, Comox, Gagetown, Winnipeg. Awesome. Anywhere else? I'm joining in, or I'm here from Halifax. I work at CFB Halifax. It's going to be a beautiful day here today. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll get started here this morning then. I just want to let you know that I am able to see the conversation and the chat while we're going through this. So if you have any questions, feel free to just type them out, and I would be more than happy to answer them. If the questions might take a little bit longer for an answer, then I'll answer them at the end if you just want to stick by. So I just want to give you just a couple of minutes. Generally, so I'll introduce myself first and then kind of tell you a little bit about what this is going to be about. So my name is Victoria Stead. I'm a registered dietitian and a health promotion specialist at CFB Halifax. I have worked in private practice, which is where the majority of my time was spent setting SMART goals, making them achievable and attainable, and kind of following through with my clients to help with their success. Outside of private practice, I dabbled in food safety for WestJet Airlines and lived out in Calgary for a year, just last year. And then I began with the Canadian Forces in health promotion last July, so just about a year. And then on the side of that, I also work casually for the Canadian Cancer Society, where I provide nutrition education to cancer patients and survivors. So I have kind of a vast amount of experience in a whole lot of different things in my career so far, which has been just about 3 years now since I graduated. So here we are. So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes. I'm thinking that most people who are here today, and if you don't, it's perfectly fine, but most of you who joined likely have some type of goal in mind, and that may be why you chose to join us today. So if you just want to take a minute to just quickly jot down, it doesn't have to be in SMART goal format. It doesn't have to be fancy by any means. Just kind of write down what your goal is, and then we can work on that. So I'll just give you just a minute or so to do that. All right. Wonderful. And you can just jot them down. You can share them if you're willing to share them. Or if you want to talk about them, I'm more than happy. You can also send me, I believe you can send me a private chat. My name's under Mike Spivak. So you can send me a chat if you want some help kind of writing up your goal once we talk about SMART goals. But yeah, those are some great ones. Get your days more organized and be more productive. That's a big one during this time. And then improve on the force test from bronze to silver. Yeah, that's a wonderful goal. Okay, so let's get moving into the webinar here. I won't keep you too long today. This is pretty brief for information and hopefully will be useful though to you. So before we get started, I just want to read off these little notes that I have too. So the presentation you're about to view is the intellectual property of the Department of National Defense. Any reproduction or retransmission of the slides contained in this presentation is strictly forbidden. Some of the topics discussed in this webinar may be of sensitive nature and not appropriate for children, so we ask for parental discretion. Please understand that people's stories are theirs alone to tell, and anything that's shared by participants in this webinar is not to be discussed outside of the webinar. And then finally, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing later on cafconnection.ca. Though active participation is encouraged, you can simply follow along without using the chat or video microphone functions if you prefer. Easy peasy. Okay. So let's get going. So you've made the decision to join me this morning on this beautiful Friday to learn more about setting goals. So now what? To be successful, evidence has shown that you should start by setting specific and attainable goals. So for instance, having a vague goal like I want to eat healthy or I want to exercise more can really end in frustration because there's no clear starting point and there's no way to evaluate the feasibility of that goal. And there's no way to really know if you've succeeded, right? You can't really measure it. So you're actually 10 times more likely to achieve your goal if you set a SMART goal and if you write it down or you tell someone about it. So you're being held accountable. So for instance, you tell your partner, oh, this is my goal, then they're gonna then hold you accountable and you're gonna feel as though you have to complete it. So we'll get a little bit more into that here now. One thing I do wanna mention is that I love that some of you have shared that your goals might be to be more organized and productive. And then of course we have some on the health and physical activity side of that and nutrition. But this presentation is gonna give a few examples in relation to kind of nutrition and physical activity, just because with nutrition being my background. But I do wanna let you know that SMART goals are appropriate for any goals you set. So whether that's getting the house organized or doing the garden or professional goals like getting into a leadership role or whatever. So this is not limited to nutrition or physical activity or whatnot. It's really anything that you want to make it. Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go with that. So I'm not sure if everyone's heard of SMART goals. Is there anyone who's not familiar with a SMART goal? New for you, Chad? Wonderful, okay. So this may be kind of a reiteration for a lot of you. We might go a little bit more in depth of what your knowledge might be right now. But if you have any questions or thoughts or anything, please just write them out. So a SMART goal allows you to define what you want to do and how you want to measure your progress. So as you develop your goal, you're going to ask the following questions. So we're going to go through each of the elements of a SMART goal and making sure that you're following kind of the process that's meant to be followed. It can be kind of intimidating. I do have a handout that I will provide you here in a couple minutes. Setting SMART goals can be intimidating, but once you kind of get into the habit of how you should properly write them to be successful, then it's easy peasy. So here we'll start with specific. So is your goal specific? So if you want to refer to the little goal you jotted down on your piece of paper and kind of take a minute to really see if you can mold it into a SMART goal. So is your goal specific? So the first step to developing a good habit is to describe exactly what the new habit will be. So, for example, instead of saying you will eat more vegetables and fruit, your goal may be to fill, I don't know, 2/3 of your plate with non-starchy vegetables and fruit at each meal. So that's more specific, right? So instead of being like, I'm going to have fruits and vegetables every day, well, how are you really going to measure that? It's better to set it so that you're setting yourself up for success. And every time you build a plate for supper time, you're going to build that plate with 2/3 of it being some type of vegetable or fruit, whatever your preference is. Is your goal measurable? So, measuring your progress and holding yourself accountable along the way will help keep you on track. So, whether that's writing it down online in a Word document or using a paper journal, which I prefer, I find I hold myself more accountable if I write stuff out on pen and paper. That's a great way to monitor your progress. So, for example, if you wanted to be more active, you might set out to walk for at least a half an hour, maybe 5 days a week. So maybe every morning before you get ready for work, you go for a half an hour walk. You're going to want to write down your activity each day to track that progress. So writing it down in your Outlook calendar at work or in your day timer, whatever that looks like for you. If you also want to be able to measure or increase your daily steps, just a simple, cheap pedometer can tell you how you're doing, or you can go a fancier route with a Fitbit or Apple or whatever kind of. But either way, you can track your steps with a really simple pedometer. I know we have a bunch here in Halifax in health promotion, and your health promotion team locally may also have little pedometers as well. So you can reach out to them to see if there's any that you can actually have and keep. So is your goal achievable? So that's got to be one of the most important parts of setting goal. You want to make sure that it's realistic and achievable. So making sure that you have the tools and the information and the resources you need to reach your goal. So if you're again setting a goal about becoming more physically active, maybe make sure that a gym membership is within your budget. Or that you have a gym close to where you live. I know for me, I live outside of the city in an area called St. Margaret's Bay. So I don't have a whole lot of resources to gyms near me. So I have to utilize other things like different equipment I have in my basement or the great outdoors or whatever that is. So making sure that it's achievable. If I was to say, oh yeah, I'm going to go to yoga 5 days a week, well, the closest yoga studio to me is 30 minutes away. So am I really going to do that every day? Probably not. Is your goal realistic? So setting a goal that's realistic can help you avoid setbacks and false starts. So if you know that you hate to run, like me, training for a marathon may not be realistic. So let's try and really think about some things that you want to start doing, but what's actually realistic to you? What's something that you truly enjoy? So aim for something that's challenging to you, but not impossible. So you can always adjust later if it's too easy, and you can always adjust later if it's too hard. But long-term behavior change is more likely if you start small. So I say I hate to run. So for example, I could set a goal to start going on a walk every day, 5 days a week. So thinking about making sure that it's measurable. So 5 days a week, I'm going to go on a walk in the morning before work. And then once I achieve that goal for a couple weeks, then maybe I'm going to turn that into a brisk walk or a light jog. And then maybe, who knows, maybe I'll turn into a runner. I don't know. I don't see it happening, but it is you can start small and then work your way up. And then finally, is your goal time bound? So goals without a starting point and without a deadline are easier to put off, right? So if you don't spell out when you're going to begin your new behavior activity and how often you're going to do it, it's not likely to be successful. So if you want to, for example, improve on your diet, a goal could be substitute plant-based protein for meat 3 meals a week beginning this Sunday. So we start by saying, making sure that you're including some type of time frame, some type of realistic time frame. Is it realistic for you to do this 7 days a week? Probably not. Let's start off small with 2 to 3 days a week, and then we'll reevaluate it in a few weeks to see what your successes were. So now, how can I be successful? So this was a worry for a lot of my patients when I was in private practice, is they would set goals and they would always be afraid of failure. So I don't want to use the term, and I don't use the term failure. I more so like to use the terminology, I didn't complete it. Using the word failure can be demeaning, and this is not what this is about. Setting a goal, there's tons of things that come up in life that can get in the way of your goals, and I don't think we should look at it as a negative way. If we don't complete it, it just gives us an option to try again. So I want to stress that if we set goals, we may have different barriers coming our way. So we're getting into the summer, it's barbecue season, tons of great local craft breweries around. You probably, well, I was going to say you probably have family and friends coming to visit you, but that may not be realistic this summer, but one can only hope. And then, of course, unexpected events like COVID-19 can really interfere in any of the goals that you may have set. So it's important to recognize that although something may get in the way of your goal, you can always start back over when the timing's right. So don't be hard on yourself if you weren't successful this time around. There's another time that you may and will be more successful. So we're going to go into talking about 10 steps to successful goal setting. So outside of the SMART goal terminology and structure that we use to setting goals, these are just different points to put forward to help you with your success. So when you set a goal, it's putting you in the driver's seat, so it's giving you the power to transform yourself. So let's really focus on what you can do to really make yourself successful. So I want you to believe in yourself. So the first step to setting your goal is to believe in yourself. If you don't believe that you can do it, then you may as well forget about setting the goal. So again, really focusing on making something a goal that's realistic for you. Don't go too far out of the way and say you're going to start doing weightlifting and bodybuilding and stuff every day a week if that's not realistic for you. So you have to do something that's going to really help you know that you're going to be able to do it and truly believe in yourself. So you're stronger than you think, and you can do it. You can reach your goal. So sometimes we need more motivation and more trust in ourselves. So for instance, if you were to look at my desk in my office, you'll see little sticky notes around that provide me with motivating words. So very much like believe in yourself. So sometimes when you're really busy at work and you're feeling kind of overwhelmed or whatever that may be, your look like for you or at home or whatnot, sometimes just simply glancing up and seeing some type of motivational word or sentence or quote or whatever can really help to increase the belief in yourself. Visualize. So you want to visualize what you want. You want to really be able to see what your life will look like. So think about what you desire in your life and about your goal and where you want yourself to be and the reason why you're setting that goal. So what changes have to take place to really visualize and become who you want to become through this goal? What do you need to know and learn? Be clear with what dimensions will bring your vision into sharp focus. So the clearer you are, the easier it will be to focus on making it happen. So really trying to see where your life looks like after this goal. So if we think about professionally, so maybe your goal is that you want to attain a leadership position within the next year. So then you're setting different tasks along with that goal. So maybe you're taking some online leadership courses. Maybe you're talking to other leaders to find out their strategies. Really put into focus about what you want. get it down. So we want to write it down, just like I told you to do or asked you to do when we first started here. So writing it down. So writing down your goal is the key to success. So by writing it down, you become the creator of your goal. So failure to write down your goal often means that you'll either forget them or you won't focus on them. So have them written down where you can see them every day. So whether that's on your fridge when you open it up in the morning, or when you walk by. So for instance, within the CAF community, it's quite common that many of the CAF community do not consume breakfast. So maybe that's your goal. You want to start implementing breakfast in the morning. So maybe a good step is to have a big sticky note stuck to the fridge that says like eat breakfast or something along those lines. So really putting it into focus, getting it down so that you can see it at the times that you need it the most. So purpose. So knowing why you want to achieve your goal is powerful. So identify the purpose of your goal will help you instantly recognize why you want that particular goal and whether it's worth working toward. So knowing that you want something furnishes powerful motivation to see it through to the finish. So really have a purpose to this goal. So what's driving you to set this goal and to achieve this goal? Commit. Of course, this is a big part of a goal. So committing may sound pretty obvious, but it's a step that has disastrous consequences when it's taken lightly. So if you have the time and the energy, maybe take some time to write down a few notes about why and how you're committing to your goal. So why it's important to you, what it means to you, why the outcome is necessary, and what you're going to do to make it happen. So without strong commitment, you aren't likely to follow through. So to think back about my times in private practice, I had a couple clients who came in and they were looking for help with weight loss and with controlling different health conditions. So I would always ask them, of course, to set a goal and find out what their motivation is, what their drive is, and to write it down. They could share it with me or they could keep it to themselves. And often they would share it because they wanted me to hold them accountable, which I was perfectly fine doing. I saw them all fairly often, once a week, so I could always kind of hold them accountable to what their goal is. But some of them would say, my motivation is to become healthy so that I can live a long life to watch my grandchildren grow up. That's a pretty impactful reason as to why you're setting this goal. So really writing down what it is that's really encouraging you to set this goal and really have a drive as to why you're going to follow through with it. So really committing to it. Staying focused. So when you focus on your goals, you really manifest. So you may not know how you'll reach your goals, but when you make a daily practice to focus, they become easier to reach. So having the goal in front of you again is a great idea. So your mind will notice that there's a discrepancy between where you are and where you want to be, which will create the pressure to change. So anyone who's set a goal or talked about setting a goal or something that they want to change in their lives, if they don't take the time to do it, they usually start to say, oh, I wish I had done this or whatnot. So really staying focused on completing that goal and making sure that you have a good support system around you and good motivation to be able to get through with it. But keeping in mind that if you lose focus on the goal, you can always bring it back. So that's one thing that I really want to stress is that this is not about being super successful in the start of when you set your goal. It's understanding that things come up along the way and that it's important to know that you can always start back over if you need to. So what's your plan of action? So be really clear about what it is that you want. So you may not know all of the action steps it may take to get to your goal, but start by jotting thoughts down. So setting a goal, I like to think of it as it's similar to setting work priorities. So for myself, I'm a writer. Like I said, I always write stuff down. So I write down each priority and each step to get there. So if I have a big project on the go, I'm going to write down who I need to contact, what resources I might need, any literature review I might need to do, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what keeps me in check. So then I kind of have a checklist of, okay, I contacted this person. Okay, yep, I have good evidence to say that I need to encourage cooking skills, for instance, within the CAF, so on and so forth, and then involving stakeholders. So making sure that you have a plan of action of how you're going to achieve specific goals. So for example, if we think about nutrition-wise, so say you want to increase your vegetable consumption. So you're going to have half of your plate as a salad for 4 days a week. Okay, again, here we are with the SMART goal. Half of your plate is measurable, 4 days a week is time-bound. What actions need to make place? So you have to make sure that you have these vegetables in your home, that you have access to the salad, that you're buying not too much so that it starts to wilt. Maybe you want to plant a garden this summer, and so maybe you're going to grow your greens yourself. So then a part of your goal can also be consuming food that you've made with your own hands, all that kind of good stuff. So really taking the time to know that to succeed at your goal, you have a plan and steps in place to be able to do that. So there's no time like now. So to show how committed you are to your goals, think about something that you can do right now that will get you moving toward fulfilling your goals. So say you want to start eating more fruits and vegetables. Well, why don't we start maybe small, and in the morning, 3 days a week, you're going to have a smoothie, and you'll start off maybe with just some fruits, and then as you go through, maybe you'll add some spinach in there to up your vegetable intake. So really some simple things that we can do to get starting on whatever our goal may be now. So you'll be surprised at how this simple step reinforces all the previous steps and gets you motivated towards what you desire. So if you go a couple weeks of having a smoothie 3 days a week, you start to introduce vegetables in there, it's amazing how good you'll feel about how far you've come and how you'll be motivated to maybe do some more things. So maybe you don't like vegetables, so you're going to start off really small, and then in a year from now, maybe you'll have tried every vegetable there is. So if you're not motivated to do something right now, how are you going to get motivated tomorrow, right? So accountability. So to push through when things get tough, you have to hold yourself accountable. So tell someone outside of yourself what you've set as a goal, if you're comfortable doing that. And then this will give you the accountability you need. A chocolate zucchini bread smoothie yesterday. That sounds incredible. If you have the recipe, please share it, because I would really like to try it. And then, of course, review. Thank you. So make it a part of your day to review your goals and take action. So this keeps your goals alive and on top of your mind. So again, if you write it down in a day timer of all the activities that you've done to be able to achieve that goal, then making sure that you review it every night or every day at some point before you go to bed. So I'm just gonna figure out here now how to share a resource with you. Handouts, okay. Share now. Okay, so you should be able to see that I just posted a document. So this is my regulatory body, Dietitians of Canada. This is a super great handout that talks about SMART goals. So it gives you examples of SMART goals. And then on the last page, it also gives you a sheet that you can work through when setting your SMART goal. So this is a super great resource. So short and sweet. Hopefully I start your weekend off with you thinking about different goals that you may want to begin at a realistic time. Maybe you want to start them on Monday. Maybe you want to wait until the first of the month in July, whatever that looks like for you, as long as it's achievable and time bound and all the factors that apply to SMART goals. So I'm just going to quickly post before everybody leaves. I have just a couple other things to say. I have 2 more polls to post if you don't mind answering them for me. So it just asks you about the Demio platform and then about the content today. For those of you who haven't attended any of our webinars previously, we have so many great webinars nationally. It's so awesome that that COVID-19 kind of brought all of the health promotion team together and that we're all kind of working together towards these. So there's super, super great content and each week's a bit different. I also want to share, I know we talked a little bit about smoothies and then I heard the chocolate zucchini bread smoothie sounded super great. PSP Halifax Facebook page, we have tons of, if I think about PSP Fitness, they have tons of workouts that they do online live, and then also recreation activities like reading or learning to play guitar. But for health promotion, myself and my team have been putting together cooking videos that get posted at 3:30 p.m. on YouTube every Saturday. And tomorrow, I'm going to be going through different breakfast options. So I'm going to be doing a smoothie bowl for those of you who may or may not be familiar with those, overnight oats, and chia seed pudding. So all of which are nutritious and filling and can be pretty well prepared the night before and then taken to work when we all start going back into the office. Is it actually donut day? So I post this slide and I like to have this on here because I also really want to make mention that with so many changes happening with COVID-19, to really not be hard on yourself and expect to change your habits. And I also really like to reiterate as a dietitian to make room for treats. There's room in every balanced diet to enjoy a donut, especially if today is donut day. So thanks so much. I'm just going to share. Okay, that is awesome. For those of you in the chat, here is a wonderful recipe that maybe we can all set a goal to make over the weekend. So thanks so much. If you have any further questions, I'll be here for a couple minutes to answer them. And now I'm going to write down this recipe so I can go to the grocery store and pick some stuff up. How do I find those cooking videos? So Chad, you're just going to go to the PSP Halifax Facebook page, and there should be a post on there somewhere that's called Cooking in Quarantine, and hopefully it will link you to the YouTube channel. If not, tomorrow at 3:30 Atlantic time, you'll see it get posted, and then you can click the link at that point. And then this is the 7th week, so we've done all kinds of really great recipes in the 6 weeks prior to that. So thanks again so much. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be back again next Friday morning if you want to tune in. So yeah, I look forward to talking to you all again soon, and have a wonderful weekend.